let's get back into the International Linguistics Olympiad sample puzzles. Number 2 today. Here we have ancient Greek translation. Now, unlike Georgian, we may have some familiarity with ancient Greek, just a little bit, certainly more than Georgian, because there are a bunch of ancient Greek words that have found their way into English, and some of them are included in this list in terms of, so some of them may be familiar. But I'm going to assume that we have no knowledge whatsoever of ancient Greek, because in general for these linguistics puzzles, you don't need to know any other language at all. You simply need to be able to know enough English to understand the question, and that's it. They don't require any specific language knowledge. So if you do recognize any of these ancient Greek words, then that will be a bonus. That will make this much faster. But I'm going to show the procedure that you would need to go through, that this would apply for a puzzle in any language. So here you can see the puzzle is asking for a matching here. So we have 8 phrases in ancient Greek, helpfully transcribed into Roman or English letters. Although it would be the same procedure if they were written in Greek letters, it wouldn't be too much more difficult. And then we have 8 phrases in English. So here we see that each of these phrases has a very consistent pattern. We have the blank of the blank. And so we have these 2 nouns. You can see those are our main content words, nouns. And then we have these little supporting words like the and of the. So each of these phrases has 2 nouns in the form the blank of the blank. And each of these nouns, it appears, can be either singular or plural. So as with all these codes, any kind of code breaking, repetition is often the key. It's often like it's the way in, it's the leverage to get into, to get any information about what's going on, because we need to be identifying these words, and so if we count the number of times they appear, whatever number of times a word appears on the right, it should also be the same number of times on the left. And if we look through the various words available, you can see one word appears 4 times. And this is master's, master, as the first word here. And then we have mastero, which is a very silly typo, and masters. Okay, so I'm assuming that mastero is just master, and they really should correct that. In this case, if it is master, it's not going to make any difference, but it's quite possible to cause a big problem with a small typo on a puzzle like this. Could make some kind of apparent pattern that doesn't really exist, and could cause hours of suffering trying to figure out a puzzle that has a typo. So definitely something to watch out for. And I have to warn you that some of these linguistic Olympiad puzzles, including the sample ones, they do have typos, which is quite it's quite dangerous. You could say something to watch out for. So we see 4, that there's no other word that appears 4 times. And all the other words appear twice each. And this one appears 4 times. So what does that match on the left? And here we see that it is this courier. Okay, so courier. These and and assuming that the mastero is singular, then we also have 2 singulars and 2 plurals, 1 each on the left and right. Okay, so that's a good first step. And now, don't know how to tell these 4 apart. We know that these 4 sentences that include master refer to each of one of these 4 sentences here, but which one's which? Everything else is very well balanced. There's no other word, I would look for another word that appears maybe only on the left, only on the right, or that appears, maybe only in singular, only in plural. Ooh, that's an interesting idea. Like here you can see the word brothers appears twice, but in both cases it is plural. And we see, well, I just went to the word because I know the word. I know what the Greek word for brother is, but so that kind of threw me off here. But yeah, I guess if I didn't know that, I would have no idea because there's no word that appears in the same form on the left and the right. You can see the ones on the left, they all end in either own or oo, and the ones on the right end with os or oi. But nope, that's not. There's nothing clear there to answer that. So I think we got to do is really got to sort out the singulars versus the plurals. So we got to count singulars and plurals here to try to match them up. If we can find which one's singular, which one's plural, then we can get the information we need to narrow it down. So if we look at the first English word out of the noun number 1, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 singulars. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 plurals. Okay, so this noun number 1 in the English has 4 singular, 4 plural. Now if we look at, now that's going to be hard because if they're 4 each, how can we tell them apart? That's not ideal. Okay, so let's look at the second noun in the English. So here, again, assuming that that's singular, we have 1, 2, 3 singulars, and then 5 plurals. Okay, so that's better. We're always looking for those asymmetries so that one thing can be separated from something else, anything to distinguish one thing from another. And now we have a possible clue here. Now we could be looking at the endings here. We can do our os versus oi. We could also look at these extra words here because these words seem to be, maybe they seem to match the pattern of singular plural, that kind of distribution. So if we look at, let's look at the ho and hoi, and the tu and the ton, and then we'll look at the endings. So we'll count them here. Okay, so here in the Greek we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ho, and then 4 hoi. So that probably matches here. Okay. And then we have, for the tone, here we have 1, 2, 3, 2, and 5 tone. So that seems to be lining up with number 2. But this to be sure here, let's also look at these endings. I feel, I'm not sure when I see these extra words, like they seem to be related, but I'd feel more certain if like the endings of these actual nouns. And we do know that these have to be the nouns because these are the little words that are repeating in every sentence. So they have to be kind of like the thes and the ofs. It has to be in here that we have the main content words that are varying. So if we look at the endings, so we look at Greek word number 1. We have 3, 4. Okay, so we have 5 owns. So in fact, I'm going to rename this English noun 1 and English noun 2 because they might be different orders. So I don't want to mix those up. So Greek noun 1 is 5 own, and I'll put it in the same order as because with the 3 and the 5 with the singular plural here. So that is 3 oo. Put the little hyphen there to show that this is a word ending. So, well, that's already very interesting because it appears like Greek noun number 1 is lining up with English noun number 2. So it looks like they're going to be switched. And I have to guess that for number 2, we're going to have 4 and 4. So we have the os. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 os and we have 4 oi. Okay. So that is good information that we can line up now number 2 with number 1. And so we can even put them together here with the 2 and the tone, and we can have all these lining up. Okay, so now with this new information, I would skip the 4 and 4 because it's hard to tell which one's which. They just either one could be which, but with the 3 and 5, we can now tell the difference. So this oo here, the oo and the 2, the oo and the 2, oo at the end of the first noun in Greek corresponds with singular in English. So now we can separate, now we have enough information to be able to tell apart these 4 sentences that each have this word related to master. So this form of the word master. So if we take here we have the master as the second English noun, which corresponds with the Greek first noun. So the Greek first noun is something with kur, and we're looking kur with an u. There it is. Okay. And again, also it has the 2 there. So the 2 is matching as well. So this is now the leverage. This is the key. It's got us in because now we have enough information to start the cascade. Because here the cascade is, we know if we can match number 1 to number E. That is now clear based on the information we have. And so if 1 is E, then we know that, because we know master is kurio, we know it's singular because the u ending and the 2 line up with singular. So now we know that this other word is donkey, onos. And so that gives us the word donkey, which we can then plug into other sentences. But it also tells us that here we know that we have onos, we have the os ending, which before we didn't have information to separate singular and plural. But now on this side, but now we know that the os, because we have the word donkey here, singular in English, that corresponds with os being singular. So now we know that the os ending and the ho word correspond with the singular. So now we let the cascade flow, follow those chains of logic using the information that we have. Right, so here that's E. So now one thing we can do, you actually have multiple ways you can go. We could actually start to follow the chain with donkey. We could actually fill in the other master ones. But let's follow the chain of donkey here, because here we have so we have donkey is onos. So we look for the other donkey word. Here it is, number 3, merchants of the donkeys. So onos here is the second Greek word corresponding with first English word. Well, next we're going to have second English word corresponding with first Greek word. And there it is, onon. We're looking for that same beginning, the onos, onon. So onon is the singular, and onon is the plural. Donkeys, onos singular. Now we have onon, and that's going to be D. Now we know that 3 is D. And also now, what's the extra noun that's missing that we haven't figured out yet? Well, there it is, emporoi, and it's the merchants of the donkeys. So emporoi is going to be merchants. So we look for the other word that has merchant. And here we see in English sentence number 2, emporu. Emporu is singular merchant, corresponds with brothers, plural, adelphoi. So 2 is C. Hey, so now we can continue the cascade. Brothers, adelphoi. So the other brother is here, the house of the brothers. We're going to look for another plural adelph. Well, here's the other adelph, adelphon. And so we have the house of the brothers. So 7 is G. And we now know that what's the missing noun? Well, we have a adelphon here, but what about oikos? Now we have the oik. Okay, where's the oik? Well, the other oik is master of the house. Oiku kyrios. There we came back to another one of those master phrases, which we could have done before. So that would have been the other route to get here. We could have, because we could have deciphered the other master phrases, but instead I like doing this chain where each clue reveals the next clue. And so we come around to it here. So that's the master of the house is going to be F. So we have 8 is F. Right, so then, and in fact, that does lead us, okay, now we have master. Well, that does lead us back to master. So now we can fill in the remaining pieces here. So we could look for, we have master of the house. And how about we can basically pick any one of the master words to then continue. So how about can take the curio onos. We did this one yet? Curio onos. So that would be second word is master. That's the donkey of the master. We did that one already. I've come around in a circle. Then we got to get to these. We have 4, 5, and 6 that are yet to be done, and it'd be good to keep track of the other phrases that are yet to be done, which are A, B, H. So it's A, B, and H that correspond with 4, 5, and 6. So let's start with one that has master in it. So we have B. Okay, yeah, here we have B, kurioi, so first word masters of the slaves. So now we have so that's 6, so that gives us doulon is slaves. So that tells us that 6 is A, and now we have doul is the word for slave, which we can then plug in to the B, which also you see there's the dual there. Dual also has slave in it as well. Oh wait. Oh no, I made a mistake. 6 is going to be B. 6 is the B. Doulon. Then we look for the other here. Then the other one, the other word with the dual. So yeah, because we have the word masters, which first word English masters corresponds with Greek second word kurioi, and then that matches with slave here, which then slave, master of the slaves. We then look for the other slaves word, which is doulos up here in A, and that would be 5. Okay, so now we have A is 5, and that leaves us, well, we already know there's only one left. We can immediately conclude that 4 has to be H, but in order to confirm, we can see we now have hion for son. The other one, that's sons, and then hioi would also be sons. On the other side, first word sons, there it is, sons of the master, kurion, hioi. And so there it is, all 8 phrases have been deciphered. So you see how there's that initial phase of hitting the blank wall, and then once you get that way in, it's like the key opening the door, and then the cascade has been released. And just to complete this, we can now complete the second section, which is the houses of the merchants, the donkeys of the slaves. So that's based on the information that you've already figured out. You can then put the pieces together. Just remember the different order and which of these words corresponds with which, and you can apply the plurals as needed, put them in the proper order, and all the information that is required for the second section is already there. So that's how you do it. I'll leave you to do that second part, but there's no new information to figure out. It's just a matter of following the existing pattern. And yeah, you may have noticed like some of these words they do have pieces that are known in English, that exist in English. For example, you can see, well, kurioi, we can see this is in the famous, the Kyrie eleison, which is like a liturgical chant, Lord have mercy. So this kurioi means Lord or master. You also see adelphoi, you can see in the word like Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Philadelph, love of the brother. So adelphos is the brother. We also see the oiko. This one is much more well hidden, but the word oiko means the house, and that's the same in the word economy. Economy is oikonomy, the law of the house. It's like the origin of the idea of economy is running a household. So that oikos is in the word economy. So those are just some words that show up that may give you clues, but as you can see, it's not necessary to know any of these words to be able to solve it. It's just a matter of finding the patterns, and that's the fun in some of these puzzles, is just you go from this state of seeing a bunch of random noise, and then you find your way into the noise, and you unleash this cascade of clues and connections until you find that it all makes sense and has logical order. So that is the fun of doing an International Linguistics Olympiad puzzle. So I hope you've enjoyed doing that, and if you enjoy them, go to the website, check out some of those other puzzles. There is a very large number of puzzles. This is just the very tip, the very beginning, and there's really almost no end to it. So challenge yourself to the next level of these puzzles and enjoy.